Hi, Anna.
Hi.
All right. So thank you all for being here today. For those that are new to our circle, I just want to take a moment to share what the Global Consciousness Collective is all about. It used to be called the Global Healing Collective. And then I recently changed it because it's not just about healing. Healing is, yeah, that's like a goal oriented thing, right? But consciousness is a forever thing. And so, anyway, GCC is our weekly gathering space where we come together to expand our awareness, to explore our consciousness, to support and empower one another, living more intuitively, more connected, and just really like create this community, this collective of just fantastic energy. And there's some really interesting things that happen in this group because it's very non-judgmental, this community. We will send energy healing to specific recipients, to each other, to the world, to certain geographical locations. We'll also do some like tried and true manifestation techniques, the real kind, not the flimsy, just, oh, write it down 9 times and turn around 3 times and jump over, like whatever. But like the kind where it has to do with curating your own emotional frequency and making sure that you can see the possibility of what this thing is and being the manifestation as opposed to just coming from a place of want and desire. Anyway, so we do all these things. And then now we're also going to be having guest speakers probably once a month or so. And Catherine is our very first one. Yay!
Yeah.
Um, so it's kind of a mix of science, spirituality, and soul. And if you're not yet a subscriber, you're always welcome to join us beyond today. I will pop the link over in the chat box here in a little bit. Before I introduce today's guest speaker, I do want to go ahead and just do a brief cleansing and clearing guided meditation. We always do a longer one. I'm going to do just a really quick one today because I know that some people come specifically for that, right? I think Anna does somewhat regularly. Shelly does, and Zoilita for sure. Maybe Kevin sometimes too. So this just helps us to sort of come together as a light worker collective, as we all are. So if you wouldn't mind, this is only going to take a few minutes, just going ahead and taking in a nice deep breath, bringing your awareness to your breath, getting your feet on the ground, if it's comfortable to do so, and safe. And then I'm going to just sort of lead this, and you can follow along silently if you would like. So I release my past. And just kind of, however, if you're visual, maybe visualize it being something like you're releasing it from your hand and it's just drifting away. I release my human relationships, especially those pesky, challenging ones. I release my negative thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. I release my fears and anxieties. I release my future expectations. I release my ego. And lastly, I release my self perception, my human identity, just for a little bit. You can pick any of these back up later after they've been cleansed and cleared. And so now that we've released these, going ahead and just imagining that the top of your head has a skylight and opening that skylight just invites divine light right into the top of your head. Or you can call it the sun's light if you're not into divinity, if that's a word that you don't really like. Bringing that light all the way down into your heart. And then going ahead and sending some channels of your own energy down into the earth, nice and deep. Letting those channel grow roots and just inviting that earth energy to come right back up into you, moving up into your own root chakra, right there at the base of your pelvis. And then kind of using your physical body, your musculature to coax that heavier, denser earth energy to meet the light in your heart so that they can come together. They love each other. They have known each other for a long, long time. And they love when they get to come together inside of the vessel that is you, letting them just marry together. This beautiful choreography of earth and sun. And then letting your heart pump this energy throughout your entire body, just letting your body fill with this grounded energy and light. When it feels like it has reached every part of you, every molecule of you, go ahead and use your breath to let it just burst out of you and get bigger than you and create this beautiful bubble around you of light, continuing to keep you grounded through your feet and your root. And when you're ready, let's go ahead and share this with each other. Just putting your right hand palm down and your left hand palm up. And just imagine we're all in a big circle and we're just sharing this with each other. We're still in our own individual bubbles, but we're just sharing gently this energy with each other. And it kind of creates one big, huge donut of energy, like a torus is what it's called, but easier to picture as a donut. Just sharing it and letting it get bigger and bigger and bigger. You are a being of light. Only light can come to you. Only light can be with you. Sharing this light with each other, sharing it beyond each other, sharing it with the world, if you feel so inclined. And when you're ready, just go ahead and say thank you 3 times to whoever. Thank you to yourself. Thank you to your health. Thank you to your body. Thank you to Source, God, the universe, Gus, right? God, universe, Source, do whatever you want to call it. And then come on all the way back. And that way we can just kind of have this beautiful, like clean slate ready to just greet the rest of the week. Did you guys enjoy that? That was like the fastest I've ever done it. I think that was like 4 minutes. Anyway, I'm so excited to invite Catherine Brewer. She's not only an author, but also a gifted evidential medium. She can explain what that means. I first met her at this group mediumship event that my higher self told me to go to, which is odd because I don't usually attend like social gatherings. I'm pretty introverted, but I saw it and I was like, I'm supposed to go to this. I got to go to this. I don't know why. So I went and she ended up channeling my grandmother. And I knew it was my grandmother. Now, my grandmother died when I was only 17. So this was the last person I was expecting because there was other people that have died since then. And I thought maybe my brother would come through or, but my grandmother, who I was never particularly close with, she was this like hard living, hard loving Appalachian woman from West Virginia. She drank, she smoked, she cursed, she gambled. She was a nurse who refused to wear skirts or dresses. She would only wear pants. And so she kept like getting in trouble at work because she refused to wear the nurse's uniform. This is my grandmother. Like, can you kind of see where I get it from? Anyway, but it was so obvious that it was her and she channeled her with such accuracy. The entire group fell in love with her. And I kind of got a chance to too, because like she terrified me when I was a kid, but like seeing her through adult eyes, I really came to appreciate her. So that experience gave me such a deep respect for Catherine's abilities. And something that you may or may not know about me is that I'm actually pretty skeptical of professional mediums and psychics and channelers, specifically due to the way I was raised by a new age mom. There was always like psychics and channelers and mediums and astrologers and everything around me. And I started to build in the sixth sense for deceit, knowing when somebody's just sort of like faking it. Even the big ones, I can tell sometimes Bashar is faking it, and I mean, like he has to sometimes, like if they don't show up when you're being paid, what do you do? Anyway, but what I found was that Catherine has, to my knowledge, she's very tapped in. And if she doesn't get something, she's not going to lie about it. She's just like, hey, I'm going to move on. I'm not picking this up right now. But I came to trust her so much that I even hired her to give me an Akashic Records reading. And that's kind of a big deal. I'm super picky about who works with me. It was very eye-opening, very validating. And I'm thrilled that she's here with us. She has this wonderful sense of humor, as you will soon find out, a compassionate presence. And she happens to also be a very gifted writer. And I read a lot. I almost get nervous when somebody says, hey, will you read my manuscript? Because I'm like, oh God, how am I going to tell them that it sucks? But it didn't suck. It actually was really, really good. I read the whole thing in one day, the whole thing. It's called Not Your Mother's Mystic. Do you have a copy you can like hold up, Catherine? There you go. Yay. Oh, you even have it so it's not mirrored, so we can read it the right way. Thank you for that. I
Oh,
read the whole
good.
thing
I don't
today.
even, that was
I just,
accidental, but a good accident.
yeah, no, that's perfect. I laughed. I winced a few times. I cried tears of joy, and one time tears of like, oh my God, I'm so glad that didn't happen to me. Um, I laughed some more. Anyway, so please join me in welcoming our special guest, Catherine Brewer. And if you have any questions, pop them over into the chat and we'll read them off later. Yay! All right,
Yay.
Catherine, take it away. I'm going to put you on spotlight if that's all right.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
All right,
Thank
here
you.
you go.
Thank you for that introduction. So when I talked to Krista about this, she said just to introduce myself and give you all an opportunity to ask questions if you'd like to. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I have had also a very skeptical life, but probably beyond skeptical, I was cynical and very closed off to anything psychic, intuition. I was always a very creative person and always loved to write, but my writing was very literal and I liked realist fiction. I never read fantasy, science fiction. I didn't like any of this. I was just very literal and practical. Uh, got a college education and then worked for the last almost 20 years in corporate finance for a very large company. Uh, got a divorce when my kids were very young, and then had a series of toxic relationships, on and off toxic relationships, very, very unhealthy. Uh, and all of that, working in corporate, raising my kids by myself, multiple very toxic relationships, brought me to a point in 2023, late 2022, early 2023, where I was really in despair. I was feeling extremely hopeless about my life and my future. I didn't understand why I was here. I was also very tapped into my church and religion, and I was volunteering at the church every Sunday and really believed that my suffering was because of all of God's promises. One of his promises to us is that we will suffer. And I was like, okay, enough with this promise. Can I have some of the others, please? Um, but I felt as if I had done something wrong, or I was just inherently wrong. I didn't understand why all of my working and effort, I would work 3 jobs at a time and still could barely pay my bills. I would have to borrow money from my kids' accounts to pay bills sometimes and then give it back as soon as I could. Um, I was always hustling with a side hustle. I raised chickens and sold baby chickens and also processed the meat to sell just like literally anything I could do. I made websites on the side. Even for a time during my divorce, um, to help pay for my divorce, I wrote erotica under a pen name to try to, that was the only thing I could do in the evening while my kids were in bed that didn't take me out of the house, it brought in good money. So this brought me to a point in my life where I was praying on my knees every day for comfort and clarity. And I said, if I can't have comfort and clarity, take me out. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm good. And just a really, really low point. And I was in therapy and I was also getting an MBA and just really run thin. And in therapy, at some point, my therapist said, well, it might be time for you to start dating again. And I was like, you're crazy. But I took her advice and I was like, maybe, I do have something to offer someone. Went online and I matched with someone and started dating him, and he was a widow. And one evening, I had a dream about his wife. and his late wife, and it was very detailed, felt very real. And when I woke up, I felt like everything would be okay because she told me in the dream that everything would be okay. Never met her, never knew her. Don't know why I believed her, but it was like this inner knowing, everything's going to be okay. When I told him about it, he told me that it was a visitation dream, and I didn't know what that was. So that sent me on this little adventure of like, what is a visitation dream? And I thought he was crazy too. He was in the military, he worked in finance at a corporate. I was like, that is crazy. I thought you were really normal, you know? And but so learned a little bit more about that. And then she started channeling through me. And I figured the relationship was pretty much over if, I'm already weird, all these things are happening. I'm like talking to his deceased wife. And the only way I could release this energy was to share what she was saying and conveying with him. And so I was like, I'm going to text you something really weird and just pretend that this never happened. And his reaction was so overwhelming. He was in tears. He was grateful. He was like, you're channeling her. And he suggested that I might be a medium. I didn't even really know what a medium was very paranoid about being taken advantage of or made a fool of much of my life. I've always been very impressionable. My ex-husband used to say that I was the perfect customer because every commercial convinced me that I should want to buy something. Um, I've always also been someone who just kind of goes along, not like I'm a follower, but like I could see things from other people's perspectives. So sometimes the strongest energy in the room, I would gravitate and I'd be like, I get it. And then someone totally different could have something else and I'd be like, I agree with you too. And I was just very open in that way and very sensitive to energy, but didn't know that. I just thought I was moody. Um, so anyway, so he let me know that I might be a medium. I didn't really know what that was, but I knew that I had this sense of peace. And I also knew that the way he was grateful for me in being vulnerable and being weird by like saying the weird thing was not something I had felt in decades. My kids love me, but kids don't, show that gratitude. Work was not grateful for my abilities or the effort that I put in. There was nothing in my life where I felt like what I was doing had meaning. And so when I had that experience with him and he was so grateful, I naturally was like, I want to see if I can do this more. So I started to give readings to friends and I was like, don't tell anyone we're doing this. And I went through a spiritual crisis and a religious crisis at the same time while I was being drawn to this because it felt so good and calming. I was also like, I think I'm going crazy because this is not anything that makes sense to me. And if I'm not going crazy, then I'm going to hell, and that sucks. So I don't know. So I went through in therapy, I was like, I think I'm having a mental break. I think I've had a psychotic break. I was very worried. And she reassured me I was okay. And then I was like, okay, well, now I'm having a religious crisis. So I had a lot to go through to understand my reality in a different way than I ever had before, to clear some of the limitations, to let go of some of the beliefs of I'm awful and things are hard because they should be hard, and just reframe my mind in that way. Um, and it led me to really see religion differently. I still believe in Christ consciousness, Jesus, but also Buddha. I just feel like God is so much bigger than even religion allows. And consciousness energy is what I work with more. But I haven't abandoned any of my positive faith beliefs, but I've let go of a lot of the negative ones. Um, so anyway, so after that, I started practicing mediumship and people were grateful for my abilities. So I kept doing it more and more. And it just felt like such a calling. And it was so um, it was hard to resist the side of my life where I was giving readings and people were saying thank you and I appreciate you and I admire your bravery in doing this because it's really hard to go up in front of 20 people and not know what's going to happen and if you're going to get a link. And then I'd go to work and they were like, you do everything wrong, like you need to work longer hours. And it was like, why? And I got a 2.5% merit increase when inflation was 3%. And I was like, so I'm working, more experience next year and I'm not making enough. Anyway, so I had a lot of this struggle also just with my financial background, this fear of will I be okay if I move into something that feels better but is totally new and not secure and are people even going to pay for this and how do I market it? And then I'm in the same town as Krissa and it's a very conservative religious town. There's more churches than Starbucks. And I get a lot
There's
of
also a whole lot of woo here, though, I've noticed. Like it's
they're
just coming out of the
starting to,
woodwork.
there is more,
Yeah.
yeah, there is more woo. When I started, I'm a little bit north of Krissa, and when I started, I just got trolled on Facebook when I would post my events. But I just was like, I don't know. I mean, it's people are grateful, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. I
And
learned a
that
lot
thing
of,
that you just said, that thing you said about not knowing if you would be able to make a living at it. I think
yeah,
almost everyone in this room has had
yeah,
that same conundrum. Most of
yeah,
us are either professional hypnotherapists or energy workers or something. And so like, yeah, it's a real thing. It's scary. But
yeah,
then what happens when you actually just like jump and not you don't know if there's a parachute?
yeah. Yeah, so a couple months ago, I just decided, I'm not making it working in corporate. I'm actually not, financially secure at all. And I was drained and exhausted. And also doing all of this work, I was very aware that when we come through in spirit, the essence of our personality comes through. And that's how it becomes evidential. So, when I do a reading, I don't know anything about the person ideally, and then I see who on the spirit world is available and wanting to come forward, and I introduce them, if you will, by describing their cause of death, their manner of death, their relationship, their interests, things that you would recognize. And I realized that if I were to pass away and my kids were going to go to a medium, I didn't want the medium to say, here's this woman and she's always stressed and she never leaves her desk and she doesn't eat lunch and she cries about her work and and she's never goes on a vacation and she's really hard on herself. I didn't want that to be like the memory that I leave behind. So I decided to just create the person I wanted to be coming through and then moved my life in that direction. Um, and as many of you have maybe experienced stepping into hypnosis, when you move into alignment with your soul's purpose or with a career that's service and heart led, things just start snapping into place and showing up for you. And so that's happened for me. I also give Akashic readings, and I've used that ability to tap into a lot of information. And for example, I tapped into the energy of money recently and have started teaching a class on attracting money based on what I learned from asking the Akashic Records and asking money specifically, tell me what you want from me so I can have more of you. And the results have just been tremendous. Like it's a 4-week class, and I had someone send me a testimonial this morning, like my life is black and white different. And that's been a really exciting thing for me is I've been able to use a lot of these things on myself, but I haven't known if I tap in the energy of money, is it going to be true for other people the same way as it's true for me? And the only way to find out is just to step into it, be brave, give it a shot. And it turns out that, these concepts are universal. So, I'm happy that's like basically this book, but the book is funnier. But
I do have a question actually before
yeah,
anybody else jumps in. Can you
yeah.
share a little bit about that moment that you were sitting on your couch folding
Oh yeah,
laundry
okay.
and
So,
suddenly
okay.
the whole everything opened up? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my
So
favorite
this
scene.
is,
Well,
if
one of
you
my
want to
favorite
know
scenes.
why thought I had a psychotic break, this is why. So I was at my house folding laundry, which I tell my mom sometimes, of course, I'm going to have an awakening while I'm folding laundry because what else do I do? And it wasn't going to happen at work because I was always so stressed. And I had taken some time off. My kids were in Europe with their dad. I was on a break from grad school. And so I decided to take a break from work as well. So I had a week, the first week in my entire adult life, where I had no kids, no work, and then also no school. And so I was folding laundry, and this was after I had kind of channeled the gentleman's wife. Um, and I was just sort of feeling this different feeling. I don't know if you guys have ever felt this, but it was like my
I know
energy
a few
was
in here have. Yes,
I'm
for sure. But
assuming
don't
this
know
is
who they are.
probably familiar, but it was new to me. But my energy was so high that I felt bubbly and I was like giggling like I was drunk. And I haven't had a drink since 2018 or 2019. But I was like loopy, but it felt good and I wasn't on anything. So I was like, okay, I'm just really enjoying the laundry, I guess. And then I became aware that there was a man next to me on the couch, but I was in such an elevated state that I didn't have any fear or judgment or, anything to make me think, oh, this is bad and maybe I should get up and leave. Like I was completely open to the experience. And then there was somebody else kind of catty corner the other way. And then there was somebody else floating at my ceiling. And we were all just having a conversation. And it was all like telepathic or downloads because I would just ask a question and the entirety of the answer would just come into me. And even things I didn't ask, it was like pouring information into me that some of it like took a while to bubble up, but some of it was like
Like a
I
data
wouldn't
dump.
even, yeah, and I wouldn't even finish asking my question in my mind and the answer would be coming in. And I learned all kinds of crazy things. Some of them like really profound and helpful, and some of them like, I don't know why I need to know that, but okay, I guess I know that. Um, and then so they not only explained a lot of things in my life, they also gave me the ability to see myself and other people the way God sees me and the way God sees everyone else. So instead of seeing myself as a failure single mom who can't get a promotion and is always in debt, I saw myself as someone who's selfless and resilient and hopeful and always, giving people another shot, like in a positive way. I even saw the person who I had been in a negative, toxic relationship with those same loving eyes. It was like I could just see the best in everyone, but not in a like delusional kind of way, how I was maybe in my relationships. So I was like, they're fine. Um, but it was just very generous and able to see their whole story. So um, I didn't see their trauma or their difficulties with me as personal. I saw it as part of their story, and that helped me to forgive them, to forgive myself. Um, and there was one other thing that oh, and then they cleared my energy. So it was like the way I think of it now is like Reiki. It was sort of like Reiki, like they just cleared my energy, and a lot of my negative things that were attached to me were gone. So ever since COVID, like I never really left the house. I was in pharmaceuticals. I worked on the budget for the Moderna vaccine. So like I was in it, reading all the studies, and it put me in such a state of fear. I never really left the house. And now I'm like on stage going in events and it's like crazy, but all my anxiety was gone. Um, and a lot of people are like, to me, they're like, oh, wow, you're so brave. Like you're getting up on stage. And I'm like, I don't have any fear left. Like that is, I mean, I don't know, like it's just gone. Which it, but not like reckless. I don't feel reckless. I just don't feel failure. I don't believe failure exists. I still fear drivers, and like people sometimes, but not failure. So it helps me be really bold and go out there and just do whatever. So yeah, so that was the awakening. And then after it happened, I came back to Earth and then started to be like, oh shit, I'm crazy. How am I gonna pay my bills if I'm crazy? I don't have time to be crazy or what. And then I went through the process of like, thankfully I had a therapist who was like, um, I was like, I think I'm schizophrenic now, and I've had a psychotic break. And she was like, you don't actually fit the profile. You're still doing well at work and doing well with your kids and getting good grades in school. And she's like, you don't fit the profile. And I said, but I hear things in my head. And she was like, well, what are they saying? And I was like, well, they're saying like, you're doing a good job and keep going and everything's going to be okay. And she's like, what's the problem? And I was like, I guess you're right. Like, that's
That's
good if
actually
there's a
the litmus
positive.
test that I give to like clients who reach out and they want me to help them with voices in their head. If the voices say negative things, I refer them to a psychiatrist. If they're actually hearing them, like hallucinating the
Yeah,
voices
yeah.
or seeing them. But if they say positive things, I'm like, yeah, come on, I'll do a session
Yeah.
with you. Like let's learn more. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
been
she
helpful.
just said, maybe you've always had a running narrative in your mind and it used to be negative and now it's positive. And she was like, every single client who sees me and every single friend in my circle wants that result. Like that's the whole point of
Yeah.
therapy. And so I was like, okay. And then she like kicked me out. She's like, you don't need me
You're
anymore. I was
done.
like, what?
I graduated therapy.
Yeah.
That's great.
So anyway, I'm open to answer any question. I don't have all the answers, but I will answer anything about my personal experience.
Have you had an
I think
ongoing relationship with those original guides that you,
yes.
yeah,
So I still don't know exactly who they are,
like you
and
don't have
they
names yet?
aren't always around. I do know the names of some of my guides, but not of
Mhm.
this trio, which I feel like is like the Three Musketeers. They they're always kind of roasting me, which I don't know if anyone else experiences
But
that, but
kindly, it sounds
oh, it's
like kindly
very
roasting.
humorous.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's always this loving, but they're sort of like, like the way family would, like the way a brother would be like, okay, like, um,
Yes.
and they're always reframing everything. So that happens when I talk to my guides and when I go into the Akashic Records. I could be like, why am I terrible at this? Like I had a really tough demonstration last year, sold out group of 45 people. It was hot. There were too many people in there. The space couldn't handle it. There was a ton of energy in there. There were some people in the audience who like were there to see me fail kind of vibe.
Like
And it was,
hecklers kind of thing.
yeah, they weren't heckling, but it was like competition. And
Mm.
it was just really tough. And the next day, I went into the Akashic Records and I was like, why did I do so badly? And they were like, you didn't do badly. You're just doing new things. And we're so proud of you for doing something brand new. And I was like, oh, okay. Just really positive. And you can't help but feel like, yeah, that's right. I'm just
Yeah,
stretching my wings. Of course it's going to be challenging.
that's
So that's
great.
been very helpful. But yeah, the three have been around, not on a regular basis. I think I've heard them two distinct other times.
Mhm.
And that was three years ago, almost 3 years ago. So it was February 2023 that I had the awakening. So
And look, your life is so completely different now than it
my
was
life is so
just 2 years
completely
ago.
different.
Yeah.
I've been out of I quit my job on June 17th. So I'm a little like 3 months out and I've already replaced my salary. Now I'm not investing, right? Like I'm not completely to the point where like I'm investing back in my 401k, but I am paying all of my bills. I'm enjoying myself. I'm taking a vacation in 2 weeks. Like, what? Like, yeah.
Hey,
So it's all just
y-
coming into, it's happening because it's aligned and I sleep when I'm tired and I like nobody's the stress of trying to build a business where I can say, hey, this isn't working. I'm going to pivot is so much better. It's like exciting than the stress of someone saying, do it this way because we've done it for 10 years this way. And you're like, but it doesn't work. And there's like, doesn't matter. That's how we have to do it. We've always done it this way. So like I still have some stress, but it's like really productive, exciting, fulfilling stress. And if something doesn't make
yeah,
sense, I stop doing it.
I love that. And there is like necessary stress, right? Like we wouldn't
Yeah.
learn how to crawl if we weren't stressed about being stuck on the floor or whatever, right? Like we have to
Yeah.
have certain stresses to make us go like, I want something different. So I have a question for you. You
Yeah.
might not remember this. I'm going to just ask, do you remember
Okay.
the session that we had together where you were the client?
Yes.
You
Do you
remember the
mean
very
because
end
we
of that
went to
session?
go visit? We went to go visit my guide, right?
No, no, no. When we did the
Oh,
money table.
oh
Do you
yeah.
remember the money table? Do
Yeah.
you remember the ending of the money table?
I don't.
Ah, that's because you were in hypnosis. I thought maybe you
Yeah.
might not remember this. So guess what
Yeah.
Catherine did at the end of the money table?
What?
We invited the
I
consciousness
want
of
to know
money to
too.
come communicate with her.
Oh, interesting.
And you asked it, what do you need from me? Instead of telling it what you need from it. And guess what? Now you have a
Oh,
whole thing that you're doing
now I
4 weeks
have
long
a
based on the fact of being able to communicate with the consciousness of money.
now I
But
have a
I figured
whole
you probably didn't
class.
remember because you were in a deep trance
I
state.
didn't. I didn't. And but I did. I knew that I was asking money. And that's so funny because Um, this,
I
like,
think
I
that's
just got a
lovely.
text
Like when
and
it
she
grows
just,
and trickles out, it's fantastic.
yeah, yeah, because like this girl just who took my last class was just like, the night and day difference of my financial situation before and after the course is dramatic. And it's like, and she's like, people are like, oh, I'm so glad you're sharing this wisdom. And I'm like, it's not even from me. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
do not know
I
this stuff. I mean, I know now because I got the information, but um trust me, it's not coming from me. If you look at past 50 years of my life, you'd be like, she's the last person I trust with money advice or relationship advice.
I totally get
And I
it. Yeah.
married
Sometimes I'm
someone.
kind of surprised that I'm doing what I'm doing because I'm like, I get data dumps too, where I'm
Yeah.
just like, whoop, it's all right there. And I'm supposed to do what with this? Like, why would you
Yeah.
pick an introverted, skeptic to put together an entire spiritual hypnosis academy? But that's
Yeah.
what happened. But anyway, so
Yeah.
do we have any other questions? I'm going to remove the spotlight just so I can see people's hands if that's all right.
Yeah. I wanted to finish that last thought really fast
Oh, yeah,
though.
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
The other thing is with like don't trust me with money, like relationships. I took a trip right after I quit my job. My childhood best friend called me and was like, oh, I heard you quit your job. Do you want to go to Alaska? And I was like, I quit my job, so I have time, but I do not have any money. And she was doing a contest with her family of who could visit all 50 states. We were born a day apart from each other, and she had 2 states left to go to and didn't want to go alone. So I was like, I've said no to everything for the past 30 years while I was raising my kids and going to school. I'm just going to say yes to everything. So I maxed out the very last of my credit card and got a flight to go to Alaska, and we went to Alaska, but I did not have enough money to come back. And I was like, we're just trusting the universe. So I was like, I'll just live in Portland, Oregon, I guess. I don't know. So I was just literally like, I am going to trust the universe. If I'm going to go into this head first, I'm going to trust, and it's going to show up. I'm just going to trust it. And my cousin's fiance called me and said, what are you doing July 25th? We would like for you to marry us to perform the marriage ceremony. And I was like, well, I think I'm going to be in Portland, but I'm not totally sure. I don't have a ticket back. And she goes, oh, I have tons of miles. We'll fly you back. And it's
Yes.
like, that's the kind of stuff that's been showing up.
Yep.
Just the universe just giving me things, experiences. So anyway, that was
Love
that.
that.
I'm open to any questions now. I will try not to be
But you touched
super.
upon a really important thing, and that is that you have to be open and willing to let the universe show up for you. If you keep trying to take
Yes.
control of the reins and how it shows up, then it it's not that it won't, but it won't come through in those ways, right?
Well,
So
and
you
you
have to
won't
be willing.
necessarily notice it because
Right. Because you're still
before
over
I
here trying
had
to
that
control
offer,
this stuff.
yeah, before I had that offer, someone else asked for an Akashic reading, and she said she was like distant family, and she knew me on Facebook, and she was having a crisis, so she asked for an Akashic reading, and at the end she said, well, I don't know if you're taking payments. And I was still nervous, like sometimes about asking for money. And she said, but my husband's a pilot and we could get you a flight everywhere. And I said, no, that's okay. I'm fine. Meanwhile, I had just asked the universe for help getting a flight, but I blocked it because of that pattern of my ego saying, no, I'm going to be tough and do it all by myself. And then I was like, what? You just asked the universe. And so thankfully, I had another opportunity to say yes. But that's a huge thing for me in this whole thing, is to learn how to say yes, because I have blocked a lot of gifts that have been coming my way because of pride, privacy, not wanting people to know I was struggling, ego. A lot of people are like,
Yeah.
hey, do you need this? And it's like, I did need it, but I didn't want to admit I needed help.
Mhm.
And then I didn't get any help.
Yep. 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 And it's humbling to ask, but when you
Oh,
do, it shows
yeah.
up. Like like you have to take the aligned action. The universe is just waiting, like, yep, we're ready to give you all kinds of stuff, but we have to see that you're ready, right?
Well,
And so then you take that action, and then it's like, here you go.
I've also learned that there are a lot of people doing really well who would love to have an opportunity to be generous in an aligned way for them. And we're blocking their abundance by not allowing them to be generous in ways that they want to be, whether that's with information, guidance, expertise, whatever it is.
Actually,
We're
yeah,
all meant to be generous.
somebody like that showed up in my life a couple of years ago, and she just popped in. Ariane, hi. She showed up with this like huge toolbox of amazing skills and tools, and didn't charge me anything, and said, here, I'm going to just help you get your whole website up and going and make it beautiful, and we're going to get you the fonts that you need and the logo that you need. And like, bam, I was just, yeah. So thank you,
Yeah.
Ariane. You're one of those angels.
Yeah.
I think she's driving, so she can't like just easily say anything. But hey,
Yeah, I'm
what
driving,
questions do
but
we
thank you,
have?
Krissa.
Yes, thank you, Ariane. Love you. Love you. I'm so glad that you got a chance to pop in. Gotta love those benefactors. They're like
Yeah.
angels in human disguise, you know?
And future us, like, right? Like, I'm eventually going to have so much abundance. I'm going to have to share it as much as possible. And then more is going to
Yep.
come in and be like, oh my gosh, I have to share more,
Yep.
you know? That's
Yep.
the goal.
Right now, I'm doing a lot of sharing on the informational level, but not quite on the prosperity level. I'm
Yeah.
still letting the lake of prosperity collect so that I can then have the tributaries go out.
Oh, you might need my class because you want to let it flow and then it'll get bigger. Anyway.
Yes, I like that. All right. So, any questions from anyone? I know we've got to have a few, and there's no judgment in this group. It's a safe container. So, there's no question
Yeah.
that would be like, yeah, Anna-Me, please.
Yes, please. Catherine, I'm curious. When you do a Akashic Records session with a person, does the person always have access to their Akashic Records? And what happens if the door stays closed or they're not allowed in or whatever?
I've never experienced anyone not having access. So I feel sometimes the way I see myself is like if you had a personal trainer and you wanted to exercise, but you didn't want to learn all the exercises and which part of the body and whatever. I sometimes feel like my intuition is so trained and refined that when people come to me, I can access your higher self, your higher intuition, because I'm focusing on it, training it, being in that clear energy. And so I act as that channel for people, but my energy is so big that the person getting the reading gets entrained with my energy, and their energy gets lifted, much like mine did on the couch. Their energy gets lifted, and in that elevated space, they start to shed some of the things that even they're not asking questions about, but some of their anxieties, their fears, their self-punishment starts to shed because they can't exist in that high vibrational state. And that helps them to also tap into their own intuition. So a lot of people, after they have a reading with me, their intuition feels stronger afterwards, just because it's like unclogging that drain a little bit. But I've never
And
had
Anna-Me, she's
someone
not
be
doing
refused.
hypnosis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not doing hypnosis.
She's reading the Akashic Records for the client.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Just so you know, you
pure
had said if the door is
energy.
closed, so it's a little different because, like with hypnosis, the client is reading them themselves.
Yeah, and Krista and I actually talked about this before. I feel like sometimes when I go into my altered consciousness, it's like I go into a little hypnosis for them. I don't know how that works, but I don't know if that's really what it is or just kind of makes sense to my
It's just,
human
yeah, it's an
brain. But
altered state.
yeah,
So it's a trance. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Makes sense. Thank you.
Sweet.
yeah.
Thanks, Anna-Me. So Rachel says, during my Akashic Recorders reading with Catherine, it was so spot on. And as a reader myself, I was very impressed with her reading. So lovely testimonial. You
Yay.
should screenshot that. You can use that.
Yeah, yeah.
Rachel.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Yeah,
I
it's
enjoyed mine
shocking.
too. Thank you very much. The one that you gave me. There's one thing that I've been working with for years, but I haven't really started doing professionally. And I got the message that it's time.
Yeah, you got your butt kicked a little bit.
I did. Yeah. I have guides that do that though. My guides are like, would you just get off your ass? Like, it's kind of
Yeah.
time to do it. Like, and I'm like, but I just
I
want
think
to
they were like,
stay in
stop
my
being so logical.
yeah, yeah. Anna, yes. Would you like to ask a question? Oh, we can't hear you, darling. And she's
Thought I hit
here
it.
from Canada. So just so you know, we
Yeah,
have people
I'm from
all over the
Toronto.
world today.
I'm just wondering if when you look back on your life, if you had any hints of this type of ability, and also if, you know, before we get socialized when we're like, you know, 3, 4, 5, like, I wonder if you, when you think of yourself at that age, if you feel like you naturally were more like high vibration and whatever. Just curious.
So I will say, from my experience, no, I had no inkling of this. Didn't have an invisible friend, didn't see spirits, didn't like, no. Um, on vacation, we would go to Provincetown, Massachusetts, which is like an artistic, very creative, open community. And I would get my palm read, and I was like, I don't, whatever. Like, it was like, my dad was like, this is a giant waste of money, but I guess if you want to do this or whatever. And I was just taught to not trust it and like treat it sort of like a game or like entertainment. I never felt anything. I I I I personally think that that is part of what gives me compassion too for how people like, okay, let me see how I can say this. There are a lot of mediums who say everyone can learn how to be a medium. And I see them teaching other people, and they are learning the skills. I don't know how to teach that to other people because there is nothing that would have made me understand this except for having this dramatic event. It's like trying to teach someone how to twist their tongue in their mouth with your mouth shut, and they don't even know they have a tongue.
Mhm.
It made
Good
no
metaphor.
sense to me. Yeah, it made no sense to me. With that said, when I came out of the closet, there were other people who have said from different parts of my lives, like, oh, yeah, I can see it. So I didn't know, but I
And
don't
you
know
weren't
what they
looking
saw,
for it
but
either, which is so
no,
interesting. Yeah.
I was trying to get my
Okay.
MBA. I was
Yeah.
studying finance and I was like, give me data. I didn't know anything about it. I mean, I've always been
Yeah.
creative, and I do believe that any kind of creative expression helps develop your intuition. They're like side by side. So I always have been
Yeah.
creative. I've always loved to write. And I
And
was
getting into that
praying.
flow state, like anytime you can
Yeah,
get into that flow state is, I think, as close to divinity as we can get while in human form,
yeah.
just like channeling through us.
And
We do have a few more questions too. Go ahead.
yep.
Sorry. Kevin, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Catherine. Wonderful story. I'm
Yeah.
intrigued at a couple of things. I'll start with one, if time allows. I'm intrigued by your wonderful experience whilst folding the laundry, and a couple of questions. Mainly, you experienced a huge amount there and had a great knowing coming to you and information. When you were coming towards the end of that experience, did it just finish like that, or was it a gentle fade out, or was it there for a few hours or days afterwards?
So the intensity of it was a gentle fade out. I was like, oh, the people are gone. They took stuff from my energy. We were talking about weird stuff, and I'm like putting the laundry away. And it's slowly like a coming down where it was like I was starting to feel more grounded, and I was starting to question what happened. Like, oh, wait a minute, Catherine, like that's kind of weird. Like, and then the whole idea of, oh, this wonderful thing happened. I want to tell someone about it. And then being like, oh, I can't tell anybody about that. So that
Who
started
could I
sort
tell?
of, that sort of started to come in. But then for maybe months after that, I would have random, just I'd be driving or whatever, and I'd just get a knowing. And some of them were really powerful, like, oh, like here's the nature of the universe, or oh my gosh, this tree is aware of my entire life and is here. Like trees are just like, and they're so patient and they're just here to give us shade and be there for birds. And then other times it'd be like I'd get on a call with people at work and be like, oh my God, he's cheating on his wife. Like, what? I don't want to know that, like things I didn't want to know. And so, but it was like wide open. And then I went and I got my Reiki one because everyone was like, protect your energy. And I'm like, how? I don't even, what are you talking about? Ah. And so I got my Reiki one and that helped. And then I went back and I was like, okay, I understand how to feel my energy and I understand what I'm feeling because I would feel things in different chakras. Like my neck, my throat chakra would sometimes feel like it had a noose around it if people were lying. And I was like, that's helpful, but not helpful because I feel like I'm choking and I don't want to feel that way. So I ended up getting my Reiki master uh, to just help process all of this and tone it down. And now I'm just a regular person, 90% of the time getting groceries and deciding what to wear and that kind of thing.
And 10% of the time, tapping into your multidimensional consciousness and
Woo!
channeling.
Very weird.
We have a few of those in here, though. You're not the only
Yeah.
one, by the way.
There's a lot of us.
Yep, there are. But you know, when you're first kind of opening up to that stuff, it can feel like you said, like, who do I talk to? Oh my God, like this feels crazy.
Yeah, I didn't
Am
have
having a
anyone.
psychotic break?
I didn't have anyone. Yeah, I'm glad my therapist was open to, but I didn't have anyone. I mean, my dad was looking to see if I was going to have to be institutionalized. Like, you know, I also had my very religious community telling me that I needed an exorcism. And I was like, oh, so I need an exorcism of all this peace that I'm feeling so I could go back to feeling like anxious.
Feeling
I
like
was like, that's a hard sell. Like, I don't know. I'm not really open to that. So
Yeah, I totally get it. Yep. Yep. Awakening is not for the meek, but I tell you what, being stuck in oppression is so much worse. So much
oh
worse.
yeah. Oh yeah. This is
Any
crazy.
other?
I'm here. I'm here for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. If crazy feels this good, sign me up,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
It's liberated. I think
Yeah.
when we have those awakenings, the only part that feels oppressive is us. Like we're like, oh, am I crazy?
And other
So
people.
we're the ones putting that on us, you know? Yeah.
Mhm.
Or accepting it from others when we can just be like, we don't need that.
Yeah.
Anna, yeah.
All right. So like your family was actually worried about you
Oh
because
yeah.
you're too happy and positive and like
Yes. Yeah.
so they actually made them worried.
Well,
Correct.
and I wasn't, well, yes, and actually, my dad has even said that he finally now has stopped waiting for the floor to fall out.
Huh.
So for a long time, he was like, I'm really glad she feels this good, but when is the crash gonna come? And there's been no crash. And when I talked to him last night, I was like, so what are you up to? He's like in his 80s. And he's like, I was like, what are you up to? He's like, oh, I'm just listening to these podcasts about these evidential mediums. And he's like
Great.
listening to podcasts on psychics
sick.
and everything. He's an engineer. Everyone in my family's an engineer, and they're all like curious now.
And now you quit
Oh,
your
that's awesome.
corporate job, so
Yeah.
they must have been afraid for that to happen. Like,
My dad was the only one who supported me in that.
huh.
He's made a totally different, you know, he's seen my demonstrations, he's seen things, and he's like totally moved by it and a believer now. Everyone else was very upset. My kids were very upset. But he said, you know, I don't know, you're helping a lot of people. He's like, I can't really explain what it is, but the people seem to be having really positive reaction, and that's worth something, whether you can quantify it or not. And you're in your 50s and you work for a big corporation, they're going to probably kick you out on your ass at some point when you're not prepared. You might as well go for it now and
Oh,
see
that's
what
great.
you can do.
Yeah. Thank you. Christy, I'm so glad that you put your hand up.
She can help me. This might be a question for you, Krista. Can you hear me okay? I'm using.
Yes.
Okay. So I have seen two dead people, and the first one was like a year ago, and I saw her, I don't know how to explain this, like projected through my mind in the space.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one was just month or so ago, and that was like in meditative space. But I heard you say like, I don't know the exact words you used, but it was something kind of to the essence of like, in talking to when the dead people were there in your space, you felt relaxed, you didn't feel fearful. Well, I felt that too. But this morning, Krista knows, like, I channeled the Galactic Council is how they identified themselves. They said there's 27. They didn't all identify their names, but I was writing in my notes and I was like, I've always heard from they, and I've always referred to them as they. I didn't know who they were. And when I talked to people, I was like, I don't know, they tell me things. I never knew who they were. And then in the channeled message in the morning, it was like, I told Chris, it was the movie, not a great movie choice, but it was Exorcism of Emily Rose when she's possessed and she's like, we are the ones who dwell within. I'm like, that's who they are. So that's what they're telling me. I'm like, cool, that's fun. So essentially my
But just
question
the
is like,
metaphor,
they
not
dwell
in the possession,
within.
like not
Yeah,
possession, right? Just
yeah.
the metaphor of like, yeah, it's we.
But I guess my question is like, because this was not on my bingo card, would the suggestion be to just keep doing what I did like this morning, which was kind of what we do here? That's how it started. Like I did sort of my morning meditation, whatever, and I did my roots, I did the thing, and I was just in the feeling energy, and then they just came through and started saying stuff. And the one thing I did get from them, because they communicated in feelings, in those movie clips, in words. One thing I felt was this overwhelming like pride. Like they were so proud of me for leaning in and not being like, I am terrified right now that aliens are talking to me, and also Metatron, which I understand is an angel. So, that I wasn't like, what is happening? I was just like, okay, tell me more. And I felt this like swelling pride. Like they were just so proud of me that I didn't run away. So essentially my question is like, would your suggestion be like sort of make that ritual, like do it every day or what? Because I'm not 100% sure. Like I'm not interested. I told Chris, I'm not interested in being Bashar. I'm not interested in going out on the stage and just channeling the aliens. But I don't really know what to do like now. It's like that wasn't part of anything in my mind. So
This sounds like maybe an opportunity for an Akashic Records reading to me, but I don't know. Anyway, Catherine.
And yeah, I
what's
could
your
just
advice?
share what I've learned is that there's no pressure to do anything. So if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But if you're already feeling that energy, there's a chance that even if you don't want to be Bashar, you're going to want to go back into that energy because it does feel so healing and you can use it for guiding your own life. And then you may be more inclined to like channel for someone else. But like, there's no one path, and you're not going to be pressured to do something you're not comfortable with. But once you feel it, it is hard to turn it off, mostly because it feels good and it's helpful,
oh
So,
yeah.
but yeah, I think when people are like, oh, should I do this once a day? It's like, no, because then it becomes work. And we're not actually supposed to be working so hard. We're supposed to be feeling into it. If the mood comes, do it. If you've got time. If not, do what you got to do.
Okay. I
I
think
do recommend
maybe.
meditating daily, but my
Oh yeah,
version of meditation isn't just sitting there in silence and meditation can also just happen like sitting under the tree listening to birds. Meditation can happen as you're walking. Meditation can happen while you're doing laundry. Meditation can just
Yeah.
be like a regular part of our existence, It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
a strict protocol.
It doesn't have to have a goal.
yeah. I think I meant more like in the
Exactly.
channeling sense, because with like medium, like even when I saw the dead lady, it was like, well, she could communicate clearly to me information that was relevant to like you saying like another person, where I'm like, I'm not 100% sure how I'm supposed to be like, do you want a reading from the Galactic Council? Because I don't know what they have to offer
Well,
any
I know.
person aside from myself.
Yeah. Well, I know with mediumship, it's considered bad ethics to approach a stranger and give them a message because you don't know where they are in their mental space, what their feelings are, how they feel about the afterlife. So if you feel inclined to do it, you could, feel that out on your own. But definitely, you'll just follow your own intuition.
Thank
And maybe
you.
write it down, whatever
Oh, I
they're
wrote all kinds of stuff. I wrote
Yeah.
everything that happened this morning.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote it down, the big header, Galactic Council.
I think
Well,
it's
'cause
our
you might get
human
the
that tries
answers
to
that you want.
figure.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just
I
going
was
to
just gonna say, I think
whatever
it's our
answers you're
human.
looking for might just happen that way. We have, we're both in Wilmington and the internet sucks right now because of the
It
storm. I'm sorry,
does.
Catherine. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to interrupt you. There's like
No,
this
it's okay.
lag. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You go. You're on.
I think we always feel like there's supposed to be a specific path and there's going to be some rules about things, and that's just let go of that, because that's just our human self being like, oh, if this is happening, then there must be some greater purpose or thing I have to follow or steps that I have to follow. But
Catherine
from what
is
I've
in the
learned with
military.
channeling, they give you all the information you need while you're channeling, so you could just ask them, how
I
often do you
did.
want me to do this? Yeah.
Okay. I
But
did,
you
and
have
I
free will. You have free
Yeah.
will. You can say, I don't want to give up my entire life to do this, like.
I did, and I got the sense that it was just like a welcome message, like, hey, we're here.
Yeah.
We're telling you who we are now. And I asked some questions, and they didn't, they held back on some things. And I got the sense that it was like, this is sort of just an introduction type message, not a like, now you have to give message to all of mankind, whatever, whatever. Like, this was
Yeah.
literally just the first time, like I said, they're identifying themselves as instead of just they,
Yeah.
which was very amorphous. So
Yeah.
Well, and my understanding too is you're used to having like because of military background and sports and all that, like that step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, do these various things more structured. I'm completely the opposite. I could actually really benefit from having a little bit more of that. So let's just keep talking, because maybe some of my like completely lazy ass approach to spirituality will rub off on you, and some of your like structured abilities and being motivated to do the step by step will rub off on me, because I would benefit. Thank you so much, Christy. So Mark has a question, and then we probably should wrap it up. I notice people are dropping out, but yeah, Mark.
Hi, I was trying to formulate this question in my mind, and I've got 2 questions, quick ones. And I think, like many of us, I'm assuming here that we dabble in lots of things, right? So I'm studying astrology and palmistry and tarot and blah, 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 blah. And one of the things, it's almost like a follow-up question to what Anna was asking previously. And it's trying to understand whether certain people have a propensity for this or attracted to this. So I was curious about your sun sign. I'm sure you would know that your rising sign or your
So
moon sign.
I believe 100% in astrology. I
Yeah.
had all of astrology shown to me one day in a giant download. I am a Leo 29 degrees in the 12th
Okay.
house.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm a Virgo rising sign. I have a Scorpio moon.
Okay.
And I have a stellium in the 12th house
Okay.
of Sun, Mars, and Mercury for talking. 12th house is like the other side a little
Yeah, for
bit.
sure.
And then so that's
That
my
no, that helps
tracks.
me. Yeah, that helps, and certainly the MBA bit comes through your Virgo, no doubt.
Yeah.
And
Yes. Yeah. And also and I've also started to learn about gene keys and human design.
okay.
And in gene keys, I have 3 markers for late catalytic awakening for myself and others. And so I have this key, and I don't know which one it is off the top of my head, that also creates awakening in others. And so I've started at my event, one of my recent events, I said, be careful being here because I have a tendency to wake people up, blah, blah, blah. I got an email 3 days later. I had a Kundalini awakening at yoga 3 days after your event. And I'm just like, sorry. And she's like, it's fine, but I think I need to talk to you. So all of this stuff, like it's crazy, but I shouldn't even say it's crazy, but it's real. And astrology, especially, I use the Placidus
Okay.
one with the partial houses.
Mhm.
That's the one I started with and just have stuck with, and that resonates with me the most.
Thank you. The other part, as I spoke to a palmist, and he said, I'm not sure whether you'd be familiar with this medium, and she was called Doris Stokes, quite famous in the UK. And there's something called a spirit line on your hand, and I was about to show you my hand, but then my pen has leaked all over it, so it's a bit blue. And it's around here, and it's
Okay.
kind of like an arch. It's like an arch there. And people who have that tend to, this is what he said, tend
Yeah.
to be more in tune with spirit because it's on your, it's like in your lunar area, your moon area. So it's the
Which hand?
Is it
communication.
like right here?
It's here. So he mentioned that whenever he goes to fairs, he will look at someone's hand and see if they've got that particular kind
Does it
of,
matter which hand? Did you say left or right?
well, it's your more dominant hand, but it could be either on the left or the right. Um,
I have it
if
on my
you're
left.
you've got it on your left. Are you
Mhm.
left-handed or you? So
I
there's
was
one that goes straight, and
ambidextrous
that's
until
your.
second grade.
Sorry, say that again.
I was ambidextrous till second grade, and
Oh,
then I was
okay.
forced to be right-handed. So
Oh, okay. So I was
yeah,
always curious to see that people who speak with spirit, whether they have that or whether that's developing or not. But that was his marker to see
I don't
whether
know.
if you communicate. And anyway, something
I don't
something
know
to
if I have it. I'll have Crystal look at my hand and she
Yeah.
can report back. But
and
yeah,
I
yeah,
suppose
yeah.
the
Mine's
very
faint, but all of the lines in my hand are faint, so I don't have any like
right.
strong.
I also think some of these things that used to be true don't have to be true anymore, because a lot of people are waking up, whether they, are traditionally part of that lineage. There's a lot of people in corporate waking
That's
up.
how I feel about astrology. I actually
Yeah.
got a download about astrology during my near-death experience, and it's not to debunk it. It was just like it needs to be updated. It desperately needs to be updated. So, but
Mhm.
Catherine and I got into a little bit of a about that, so I'm not going to harp on that.
And I suppose the very, very last thing is you just, I mean, you almost prompted me about people in corporate waking up. How does that feel? Because, it feels like if you're in corporate, that you're walking off the plank into another world.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a real struggle to think, I've been this, desk jockey for the last 30 odd years, leading teams and so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden, ta-da, here's the, and I don't want to do this, ta-da.
Yeah, I feel like in the past, the ministers and the priests would go into the prison to help people develop their moral self. And now the psychics need to go into the corporate world to help them connect with their intuitive self. And I lost my, but I like I said, I don't have that fear of failure anymore. So I'm wide open on LinkedIn. I'm giving business readings. I do Akashic readings for solopreneurs to help align them with their business to be on the best path. I'm starting to offer readings to businesses, to teams, so that the team can be more cohesive and align with the highest timeline of the business, because so many people, our jobs are a big part of what it takes. It's so consuming. Like, we need to have more peace in those spaces and have them be more awakened.
Beautiful. I
Interesting.
love that.
I have got a failing, so I need to have that cleansed probably, same as you. But yeah, thank you. That was
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Catherine, for just sharing your gifts, your presence, your humor, your awakening story, which I absolutely adore with all of us. And thank you to everybody who stuck it out, even though we went over time, but it was totally worth it, wasn't it? It was such a
Thank
beautiful
you.
Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank
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 you all.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Wonderful.
Take care. And if you are interested in joining us on Mondays, because we do different things every Monday. Just reach out, or I did put the link somewhere over there in the chat. It's called the Global Consciousness Collective. And get Kathryn's book because you'll love it. You totally will.
Yeah.
It's very humorous. It's very well written. And I don't say that unless I mean it. So yeah.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Kathryn.
Thank you.
This will
Bye,
be on
Kathryn.
YouTube
Bye,
soon,
Krista.
by the way. Bye.